Hi, I'm John Lasseter, Chief Creative Officer of Pixar and the Walt Disney Animation Studio.
How have you seen the role of video games evolve over the years since you first started collaborating on Pixar games back with Toy Story?
Well, the first game I ever worked on was based upon our first movie at Pixar, Toy Story. And it was really fun to see our characters come alive in a video game. When we create a movie, we have to do three things really well. Tell a compelling story that keeps people on the edge of their seat where they can't wait to see what happens next, and it's unpredictable. Populate that story with really memorable and appealing characters to put that story and those characters in a believable world. Now, for video games, it was like we have the characters and we have the world. What other stories can we tell in it? What other adventures can we have? So there's a type of game where you can kind of follow roughly the story of the movie, but then there's also the games where you go, well, maybe it takes place right after the movie happened, and we could do something else. So it was an extension of the storytelling that we, with the characters in the world from the movies, and I fell in love with that aspect of it.
What are your thoughts on how technology has evolved in gaming compared to what Disney and Pixar can do with CGI?
Well, it's pretty amazing to see, in the interactive world, how great the images look these days. The texture mapping, the lighting, the animation and all that stuff. It's come so far, and it looks fantastic. I have 5 sons, and they love playing video games. And one of my favorite things is just sit and watch them play. I mean, they're so much better than I am, so I just really don't play. I just watch them play, and I'm just blown away by how good the graphics are these days. And that's what excites me, because those are the tools now we get to use to create games from our characters in our movies.
What opportunities do video games open up in the expansion of film stories and characters, especially as things are cut from theatrical films?
In creating our movies, we have these amazing characters we've created in crafting over the development of an animated feature film. And the world, we put a lot of effort into making the world believable and what you can and can't do. And so in taking those two things and going into the interactive storytelling medium, it's something completely different than doing a movie, because it's really for one person, the player, the user, whatever, it's for them to interact with your characters in your world, and they are in charge of where the story goes. They are in charge of, do I go right or left or go straight? And if you go right, one whole branch of the story will happen. Go straight, a different branch of the story will happen, and left, another branch. And it's really fun to start thinking in those terms. It's like creating a really alive world, a world that's truly alive in everywhere that's going on. Like right now, outside this room, there's other stories that are happening, right? And you could just turn your camera and walk out and go find those stories. Well, that's what you do in developing an extension of our characters in the interactive, in the computer video game world, is that. And it's fun to start thinking about, okay, what's going on outside? What's here? What's there? Let's go see if we can find it and develop it. And I get so excited about that, because it really is in the hands of the user.
What are some similarities between the way game developers and CG animators work to bring entertainment to life with technology?
We work very closely with Avalanche Studios in developing a number of games, and especially Disney Infinity. And it's interesting, the parallels that are of what they do for developing an interactive experience, like a video game, compared to what we do at Pixar and the Walt Disney Animation Studios in developing a story. We all have to kind of develop the characters, the personality of the characters, how they look, how they're going to move, and so on. We develop the world as to what's around every corner. We also develop the story, and the story is really what happens next. And it's very much the same, but ours is a real linear storytelling where we are in control of where the story goes. But in their world, it's really the user that's in control of where the story goes. So that's where it differentiates, and they have to kind of deal with this big world that's with a branching structure of the story. And I think that's where it's different. But everything else before that is very, I was surprised at how similar it really is.
How did you see these similarities work on the big screen, Wreck-It Ralph movie, set in a game world and featuring new and classic game characters?
Well, Wreck-It Ralph was so exciting to go into the video game world and pull the essence of these games through the different eras. You know, we go the 1980s 8-bit video game world and kind of like, if you're used to that game, okay, if that world was alive, what would that world be like? And it was really fun to create that and celebrate that 8-bit world. The same goes for the world of Sugar Rush, which is a kart racing game set in a world where it's, you know, all the candy and desserts. And those games are later on, so they're much bigger worlds, you know. And then with a modern first-person shooter game that's extremely realistic, you know, like Hero's Duty, it was really fun to kind of dig into, you know, those kinds of games and how they are, and they're just so complex and detailed. And so we tried to study each of those eras of games and pull from what makes those types of games and those types of environments and that type of gameplay unique, and sort of decide how those characters and those worlds would be in this world. If they were alive, how would they be? And that's where a lot of the inspiration for Wreck-It Ralph and the world, and the worlds that we visit and create and the characters came from, is really studying the unique different types of gameplay.